Welcome, my name is Stair and this is StarMade. And today we are continuing with our current Trade Guild ship project. And fair warning, we're going to talk a bit about logic this episode. So if you're not into that, then you've been forewarned. Because there's a couple of things I want to concentrate on to develop within this ship. And one of the first things is probably going to be the side wings with the hangar bays for the worker bees, because this will be a relatively simple docking and undocking procedure, I think, and I want to have that out of the way first. I'll have to think about where to place the rails exactly, because the way they are now going up is not really a good way to unload the worker bees. I think going down is much better because you have a lot more space there to exit the ship. So we're going to do that, I think. Another thing I need to check is if I can get the docking for the main hangar sorted out, because what I want is that a ship docks here at the main docking point, goes up into the hangar, and then chooses which spot is free and go there. So that's one other project as well. And there's a couple of small things I want to add, like the logic for the elevators, things like that, airlocks, if I can get around to it. So we are inside the ship now, and there's one glaring difference already. I moved the original shield regeneration unit that was located here up at the top in this yellow box over here, so it's all protected. Not sure if this is going to be the final size, but I can make it bigger if I want, because the sphere that it generates is big enough that I can move it up and still have the whole ship within the bubble. And then it's the same height as the blue power core over there. So that's the first thing I did to create a bit more room. And the second thing I did is I started working on the elevators. And I did talk a bit about having multiple access points to my main hangar. And this main elevator over here was the first one I built. So I extended it further to the top, all the way to below the bow core. So every level will have access to the main hangar if it's needed, except for this upper level, but that's mainly going to be system and some maintenance areas, I think. So not a whole lot of interior is going to go there. And I also started adding these smaller elevators to the side. So this one and this one on this side. And both will end up inside the buildings in the main hangar. So this one will end up in this room over here, the control tower for the main hangar, and then go down into this area that I already started to work on a bit. So you can see here's the main elevator for this building, and all kinds of reinforcements for this area. And I'm probably going to add some stuff in here to use for maintenance on my worker bee over there or something like that. Then you can go up in this elevator to the control tower itself or to the rest of the ship. And I did it for this building over here as well. There's nothing in here yet except for the elevator access over here. And then you go in here and then go all the way to the top to the rest of the ship. You can even see a bit of the elevator shaft in here. So you can, if you go up, look through the glass and then see parts of the hangar as you go up. That's always nice. So yeah, we've got 3 access points now to the hangar. So the 2 elevator shafts on the sides and then the main elevator over here. I did a bit more work on the elevators. So the housing for the elevators is all done now for the main elevator, and for the side elevators as well, including the logic. And the way I did it is basically we've got a button on the outside that will call the elevator to the floor you're on. So if you press this button over here, then these 3 buttons will activate, and these have 3 rails to summon the elevator to your level. So that's basically pointing rails down to this level, and then below it pointing rail up, and then 1 rail in the middle that points to the side to stop the elevator. So that's how you can create a button to call it to this specific floor of your ship. So it will skip all the other floors. And I usually have these 3 buttons for up and down within an elevator shaft, because of course you can add more buttons to go to a specific floor, but there's too many floors to have all these buttons in there, I think. So up and down is good enough for me. And then of course a screen with what each deck is going to be. So the lowest one is the main hangar. Then we've got this deck. I'll call it probably the command deck, because the bridge is over there on this level, and probably other important areas. The main focus will be on this level, I think, of the ship for the important rooms. And then above that, probably something with crew, then technical, and then something else. I'm not sure yet, so I have to figure that out, and then I can adjust the displays as I go along. So this is basically the same for the small elevators over here. Same setup. So press the button, you go to this floor or whatever your floor you're on, and then you can go in and press the up and down button to go up and down. And those are located to the side. So this is a smaller elevator. They work just fine. So I'll leave them like this, because these are fixed points as well, because within my interior design. So I know now where I need to take the elevator placement into account when I design the rest of the layout of this deck, or each deck actually, and I can plan around it. I'm probably going to add 1 more elevator somewhere around here in the middle. So then we've got 1 big elevator at the front, 2 to the side, and then a big one here. It's probably mainly going to be used to go to technical levels within the engineering area. Yeah, not sure how exactly I'm going to set that up yet, but we'll think of something. And that should give you plenty of options to go up and down between decks. And we are outside the ship again. As you can see here, the slightly sloped area on top of the ship has some additional, what you might think are decorations, but there are actually not. They're actually functional elements, and I'm going to show you why. That's why I'm in the free camera mode inside the ship. And I'm going to press a button. There we go. Whole lot of missiles. Let's press that again so you can show it. So that's 10 missiles that are going to be fired from these compartments, and each time it fires, it opens the shutter as well to allow at least pretend to allow the missile to exit the ship. I can make them dumbfire missiles, or I can just set them up for a swarm, just heat seekers or something like that. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to use. It is not possible to make them tracking, because this is logic fired, so you can't lock onto a target and then fire them. So it needs to be heat seeker or dumbfire for this system to work. This is the logic room I showed you last episode, where I created these motherboards with placement for logic available, and I made good use of it. I did a bit more decoration on this room, but it's still not done. But I did use a whole bunch of the logic boards already to get some functionality in the ship. For example, over here, this entire board is dedicated to the worker bee launch within the wing sections of the ship. So we've got our worker bee on the left and our worker bees on the right. and it's basically a timed circuit, so it's very simple. It just goes into a timer to at first set the rails to launch and then reverse it at the end of the timer when it's done. I tried to do it with a detection rail, but it didn't really work for me all that well because I created these rails now to exit the worker bees, and when you try to detect if they pass through the last couple of rails, then it didn't really trigger the reset, so not sure what's happening with that. But yeah, I set everything up that it will go this way and then go down to launch. So that's a fairly simple logic circuit. Also placed a button in here so you can trigger it. So if we press this one, we can see that all 3 worker bees go outside the dock now, then go down with the shootout rail. And there they go, and then they go do their job, and this resets to allow them to dock again. In addition to the worker bees, I also started work on this rail project. And you might think, okay, what is it launching? Well, escape pods. Because that's not something we had taken into account when we made this design. Where are we going to place escape pods? Well, this seemed like a logical place to put them. It's the same level as the airlock over here, so you can get to it relatively quickly. And even in these spots, it's a bit more protected from fire because of these light gray screens in the middle. And it's also recessed within the hull, so it's better protected as well. But I had to change the layout bit of this section of the ship, so the piping had to move slightly, and these light gray dividers had to move slightly just to make everything fit. But you can't really see it, I think. If you notice it, that it changed, good job for you, but I don't think you will notice that that distinctively if you haven't seen the ship before in close detail. The layout of the escape pods themselves, because they're still docked within an empty space, is like this. I've got our door over here, then a remote block over here to trigger the escape. So you run in, then you've got 3 seats on your left and your right, and 3 seats at the top on your left and your right. So I've placed a gravity module on the top as well, so we can house 12 people per escape pod. And these fences above it, I imagine they are some sort of, yeah, how do you call them? Those are the things that you pull down in a roller coaster that you stay put in your seat. So you go sit down, pull this down, you're safe. Same for the top, and then someone presses this button and the escape pod launches into space. To demonstrate a bit better how the escape pods actually work, I'm here down in the astronaut mode and in gravity. But before we do that, I want to show you this area between the escape pods. I've got 3 over there and then 1 over here. So that's, well, like I said, 12 per person. So that's 4 times 12. You do the math, and then 4 times on that side as well. So we've got 96 spots for people in escape pods. But this area is my logic room for the escape pods. I decided to create a well, role aspect for this area as well, like I did for the other area. So each cabinet over here is logic for an escape maneuver for the escape pod. And then we've got in the middle some lights to indicate which of the escape pods are launched or not, and a control station to control it all, sort of. You're not, but you can of course press the button over here. For example, you can see here is the remote block that connects to the escape pod itself. So let's go to one. This one, for example. We run in. We've got our storage over here with some supplies that we need and some medical supplies over there. And it says emergency capsule. at the top. So run in, press the button, and then look out in the back to the ship as it dramatically explodes behind us, as you can see in many series and movies. And we have escaped the main ship. And this ship over here I haven't shown you guys either. It's a bit of an ugly duckling. I consider it a failed design. I was trying to create a small sort of recon ship that could launch a probe, but yeah, I wasn't really happy with it, but I brought it in just to have another test ship for our main hangar setup. I wanted to have every platform docked something, because I'm working on the rail system for allowing the ships to dock, and then choose which paths they need to go to, and of course the undocking procedure. That is important as well, of course. But yeah, this ship has their entrance here at the side instead of the front or the back. Let me just jump into the ship real quick so we can press the buttons. Let me see, here we are. So if you press this button, then the elevator comes down over here. That's the same for each side. And then you come into a small hangar space with a probe in the middle, docked. And then the cockpit at the front and some workstations over here. And this button over here would open the satellite doors, like this. And then you could launch the satellite or probe or whatever is docked there in the middle. Like I said, it's a neat thought, but yeah, the design I don't really like all that much. It's okay, but it's not good either. We are back in our logic room because I want to show you how much logic it takes to get all the ships in the main hangar to behave as I wanted them to. So this whole site, these 4 panels are all dedicated to the launching and docking procedure of the main hangar. That's not entirely true. These 3. This one is for the worker bees, but these 3 are all for the main hangar, and they're wall-to-wall logic, basically. There's a lot of it, because I have to take into account that each individual ship needs to react slightly differently when they enter and exit the hangar bay. So we've got our different steps they need to take, and as you can see here, I've got our route here all laid out in green rail. So when the ship undocks, it needs to move, of course, this way, but then it needs to rotate to fit through the door over here, because it can't fit through the door on the position it is now. And it needs to happen in reverse as well. When it enters, it needs to rotate to go to the dock it needs to go to. Same for the one in the back. It doesn't need to rotate, but that's easy enough because you just go to the different rail and then go to the docking area in the back. And one other thing I added as well to control all this is the control room in the control tower over here. So we go inside. You see they've got a lot of interior already. And we've got a couple of buttons, so if you press dock 1, then dock 1 will be launched, dock 2, 3, 4, etc, etc. And over here we have control for the bay doors, so we press this one over here. Just pretend I actually pushed that button. Don't know why it didn't work, but now the door is open. And then we can press any of the buttons to launch the ships to go to space. Well, dock 1 doesn't have anything, and we know this, I forgot to show that, by this map on the floor here. So as you can see here, dock 1 is clear. There's nothing docked there. Dock 3 is the one we need. And of course we can see that the bay doors are open, dock 5 is occupied, and dock 2 is occupied. So we need to press the button for dock 3, this one. There it goes. That's the correct one. And then it moves to the position in the middle and goes to the door area over here. And before it does that, it needs to rotate in this section over here. So I just added a whole bunch of AND buttons to set certain conditions when button is pressed that it knows how to rotate the ship like this. And then it goes down. There we go. And it will launch outside the ship. I decided not to use the shootout rails for this section of the ship when it exits the hangar doors, because I wanted to have that slow moving effect that the ship exits the force fields, and then at the end it will reach a shootout rail to actually undock from the ship. There it goes. Then it goes fast. Same for all the other ship areas. We can just press the buttons to launch them. As you can see, it updated that dock 3 is now clear. And then when we grab the ship that we just launched, this one, we can just move it up a bit like this. It will go to the dock over here. There we go. It will dock again. And then it will decide, okay, which of the docks is free, and it will go in a certain order. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So this dock is the first one that's free, so it's going to dock to this first dock over here. So it will know what to do with the rotating and moving of the rails. There we go. Then it rotates this way. There we go. And now it will move to sections to move to the left. And now it needs to make the decision to go to the left. It does. And it's going to dock. There we go. Easy as pie. Well, not really. This took a whole lot of time to actually get right. But it works now. I'll leave it like that. I can probably make it more efficient, but that will be for later. I did a bit of work on this large building in the hangar as well. So I added the door, and now when you come in, it's all nicely with the inner walls. And I added a second level, sort of an open floor plan like structure that you can go through with a set of stairs. Yes, I actually managed to build some stairs in StarMade. We don't have stair blocks, and they don't function as stairs, but at least that's not true. This functions as stairs because I decided to add these sloped grade blocks in here, so you can walk up them. And with the railing, it gives a really nice effect. It really gives a stairs effect without actually having stairs. And it's the 45-degree angle that we need to fit it into the space. So yeah, I'm very happy with this design, and I decided to experiment a bit more with this stair design, and I came up with a whole set of stairs that I built over here. As you can see here, we've got a straight piece, we've got ones that go 90 degrees, we've got a continuous forward in a emergency stairwell or something like that. So a whole bunch of versions, and because I like these so much, I decided to place them on a template and release them to the docks. So if you want a set of industrial looking stairs, the link is in the description below. Go download it and play with it and see what you can do with it. I can imagine that you can use them in some sort of industrial complex, or just use them within your ship. The bigger ships, of course, to have ways to go up and down certain areas. They are built to match my own deck height that I use, so that's 5 blocks empty space, and then 3 blocks for the ceiling, empty space, floor, next floor. That's the spacing I always use. So it's a total of 7 blocks that it needs to traverse. So if you want them smaller, you can create smaller versions for yourself, but you can use this as a template for that. So I hope you enjoyed my logic-filled episode this week, but I had a lot of fun creating actual life within the ship, that things actually work, and you can press buttons and things happen, and the docking works now. You can put all your ships in here, and everything sorts itself out. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.